Hey there! Today we'll have a look at this pen, and this is a pen I have reviewed before, but I happened to enter the Goulet Pen Co's Monday mashup, mix-up, mashup, match, mix, or something. In any case, you upload a picture, it's an Instagram thing, I believe, you upload a picture, and there was a random draw, and I won! Which is funny because I never win anything. I can say that in all honesty. And the prize was this Jinhao X750. Now the X750 is a pen I have reviewed twice. I reviewed it with a regular medium nib, and I've reviewed it with a Fude nib, which is a sort of Asian calligraphy nib which has a bend in it. It's quite fun. It's very broad nib. But this nib had, this pen, this specific pen, came with a Goulet 1.5 millimeter nib. And I have been assaulted by people who really wanted to see my review of a Goulet nib. So I only have this one. I don't have the full range. I have this nib, and I'm going to talk to you about this nib. And I like it. And as I understand it, this is a Jovo nib with the Goulet logo laser engraved on it. And you can see that right there. And this is the 1.5, and the pen came with its own, so the little medium nib that usually comes with it. I only say little because compared to 1.5, it's of course a very narrow line, and it came with this 1.5 millimeter nib plus a feed, an extra feed. And personally, I didn't see a whole lot of difference between this feed and the other feed. And the reason I mention that is that for a 1.5 millimeter nib, that's a lot of ink. That's a serious ink flow. So I was expecting a feed with a rather broad channel, but to my surprise I didn't see anything about that. However, to my further surprise, the nib performs very well. I have written a lot with it and it has not run dry on me. Do you see the cat? It's the cat. The cat aspires to be a reviewer too. Hey there. Alright, she's going again. So I find it fascinating that the nib does not run dry. For example, on my TWSBI Diamond 580 I had a 1.5 millimeter nib, and that runs dry constantly. After half a page of writing, it just stops. No matter what I do, that's what it does. And this nib keeps going. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised. Now, there isn't a whole lot to say about this. It's a number 6 nib, which means it can fit a whole bunch of pens that take number 6 nibs. The Ahab or the Conrad come to mind, but it also fits the Jinhao X750 and X450, should you be interested in that. And that turns these pens into a very fun writing instrument. I mean, they're nice to begin with. They come with a converter. They're decently made, but with a nib that's 1.5 millimeters, you add a whole lot of line variation and fun and expression to your writing. So I think I've said more than enough. Good performance of the nib, a very adequate feed. I think what we need to do next is actually write so that I can show you what it writes like. So let's do it. So, very awesome that I won. I've never won anything in my life, but now I did. So that's cool. Let's look at the writing. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so here we go with this Jinhao X750 with a 1.5 millimeter Goulet nib. It says knit, but I meant to write nib. And the ink is Noodler's Liberty Elysium. That's the Goulet exclusive, so I thought it would make sense to put that in this pen. Alright, let's do a bit of writing. As you can see, you get a really nice amount of natural line variation because of the 1.5 millimeter width of the nib. And depending on your specific writing angle, I tend to write with the nib curved a little bit like this. But some people write with it really straight, and then you can see you really capitalize on the width of the nib. So it really depends a bit on how you hold your pen. Now if we do some fast writing, You see there's a little bit of a skip here and there. The thing is, nibs like these have a significant ink need to be able to write well. And with really fast writing you may notice some skips, but in all honesty, as I said earlier, I've been very impressed by this nib's ability to keep up with writing and stay wet. Okay, a relatively wet nib, not a gusher I would say, but definitely on the wet side. Line variation, well, as you see, as I said, because it's an italic nib, it has that natural line variation. Although I guess it's more of a stub considering the corners, at least not a crisp italic. But in any case, with pressure you can also squeeze out some line variation, and then pushing it to the max you get something like this. Of course be careful to spring it. Alright, how about reverse writing? Well, the nib has a good enough ink flow to do that, and you see the writing is a little bit finer, I would say, than with it like this, but of course it's not a round nib, so the difference will not be huge. Okay, well, that's pretty much all there's to it. Again, very cool that I won the Monday matchup. I hope this was useful, and let's do a bit of calligraphy. One of the worst G's I've ever done. Doing this pretty quickly because I don't want to bore you to death. That's definitely a terrible D. Oh look, it's a cat! And we're done. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later.